Are you a procrastinator? Are you a perfectionist? Are you a procrastinating perfectionist like me? In this video, I'm going to tell you how I started my YouTube channel, even though I tend to overanalyze and, of course, waste time, right? So, the greatest advice that any of these YouTube educators, advice givers, gurus, if you will tell you is that you need to just start. And if there are any people out there not telling you this advice, then you need to stop watching them like immediately, okay? Because this is essentially the bread and butter, the whole crux of it all. And you're probably saying to yourself right now, I already know that. And I'll counter with, okay, tell me in the comments right now how to start a YouTube channel, insert current year here, have you watched and yet you haven't started. Okay, so there's no amount of information that is going to have you fully equipped to start a YouTube channel. There's also no amount of motivation that's going to get you started, right? Unfortunately, all this boils down to you. You are the only one who will actually be able to solve this problem, right? You are the only one who would be able to motivate yourself. You are the only one who will be able to talk yourself out of making up excuses. So for a procrastinator like me, the excuse is time. And for a perfectionist like myself, the excuse is lack of skill, lack of know-how or information, right? Knowledge. So how I was able to overcome this is more so the time than the lack of skill, because it was in 2020 and it was the beginning of all the lockdowns and the pandemic, and I was working in the hospital, still am, and we started working on a shift-based system. So I was actually able to get about 3 to 4 hours at a point in time at home, because the office was too overcrowded and there wasn't sufficient space for social distancing, so they started rotating us. And I knew at that point in time that my excuse about not having enough time was no longer relevant. It was no longer valid. There was no amount of justification I could do in my mind, because I knew that I would never get an opportunity like this again, to have extra time in the day, to not feel overworked and to not feel really exhausted from work. And I would actually have time to film, edit and post YouTube videos. Now, of course, I didn't know what it took to do all that, because even though I did tons of research, a whole heap of notes, watched a lot of YouTube videos, nothing can prepare you for what it actually takes to create your first YouTube video. And that brings me to the second point of lack of skill, lack of know-how or knowledge. For the perfectionists out there, you will never be prepared. So don't be fooled as though you can watch 10, 20, 100 YouTube videos on how to do YouTube and be fully equipped to do YouTube when you sit in front of this camera, phone or tablet, whatever your recording medium is, right? And you think, okay, I learned about lighting, I learned about audio, I learned about, making B-roll, I learned about all these different things. And I even went and I learned about editing on either DaVinci Resolve, Camtasia, Filmora, Adobe Premiere Pro, iMovie. Whatever it is that you did, it's not the same when you are going through it. This is something that you just have to learn with doing, with experience. And I will liken it on to cooking, right? You could read 100 recipes, read about a dozen cookbooks. You're still not going to know what you're doing when you turn on the stove, because it's just a practical thing. It's just what it is. Okay? And you're not going to understand it because you didn't start as yet and you didn't do it as yet. But trust me when I tell you, you just have to start doing it. And nobody, not even me, can convince you or motivate you to do it. You're just gonna have to find it within yourself to start the YouTube channel. And if you are brave enough to take that first step, you can check the description box down below. I will link videos and resources and tools to help you on your YouTube